Hey, it's your girl Rika and
Jessica Rabbit.
yes, she's back, y'all. And today on this episode of Soul Healer Podcast, we're going to be talking about something a little different, but it's relatable. It is the holiday season. Christmas is coming up this weekend. And, some people are happy, some people are in the Christmas spirit, but some people aren't. And it's not that they're being a Grinch that stole Christmas or just, trying to rain on everybody else's parade, but it's a lot of stuff going on in this world right now that I'm sure everybody understands because whether it's grieving the loss of a loved one that's no longer here with you to celebrate the holidays, or like someone mentioned on TikTok, just parents grieving because they might not have the money that they would like to purchase gifts for their kids. And I know I'm feeling that right now. Just all types of stuff, mental illness, and there's people committing suicide. It's just a lot going on, and it really needs to be talked about. So that's why we're here today. And I hope you guys can relate. So just sit back, relax, and join the show. I was about to call you your TikTok name, girl. Oh my goodness, I had to stop myself for a minute. So, Jessica, what you got planned for the holidays coming up this weekend?
So much I'll just be home. My daughter's best friend is coming with her family. My mom will be here. I invited my brothers. I don't know if they're gonna come. My sister is estranged, so I know she won't be coming. But it'll be us with the kids. That's it.
Okay. Yeah, mama of 4J.
Yes,
Hopefully I get to see her on a live TikTok video or something. Finally get to meet
yes.
her. That sounds fun. So this weekend is gonna be different for us because my mother-in-law and my mom decided not to do what they normally do, whether it's celebrating on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day brunch. So now I am gonna have to figure something out. Like I'm gonna have to start creating my own traditions, or man, I'm gonna have to cook. So I gotta come out my little comfort zone. I've been spoiled for all of these years. Now I'm gonna have to man up and figure it out myself. But I'm still grateful because, we got this food coming here soon that I didn't have to go pick up. So thank you, Instacart. This is not a promotional advertisement. They are not paying me to say that. But but there's gifts under the tree. The kids have what they need. I'm grateful. That's all I gotta say.
I
But
hear that.
when I mentioned it's a lot of stuff going on in this world right now. Uh, Jessica, you were just telling me the other day about the guy Twitch, right?
Yes.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
so wait a minute, guys. Before we continue with this conversation, we do have someone else joining us. So give me a second. Let me bring her in. Okay, guys, my friend Quindra was at the door. She was knocking at the door, so I let her in right quick. But I'm gonna let Jessica get back to what she was saying about the situation with Twitch. And then, Quindra's gonna join the conversation as well. So go ahead. What were you saying?
I was saying that he committed suicide. I believe it was Monday, and they found him Tuesday. Um, and he just celebrated his ninth wedding anniversary a few days before, and he was he's spoken to some family members, but they said it wasn't like a goodbye. It was just like, I love you and different things like that. And then his wife noticed the next day that his car was still there, but he wasn't home. And she went right to the police. And they said that they found him about the same time that she went to the police. The maid found him. So that was it. I mean, there's some conspiracy theories. I know he's a guy that always smile, and I always say the ones that smile the most are most likely the ones that are hurting the most. But they have to put on that happy face because everybody is used to seeing them happy. So when they're sad, they're like, "You can't be sad because you're supposed to be here to make me happy." So they don't let them grieve or anything. So I don't know what he was going through. And then they said they found a note, but it wasn't a note at the site. But this note mysteriously popped up a few days later. I don't know. So I mean, it's a lot with that.
So yeah, that's tough. I mean, because now around the holidays, his wife or his family, they might not be able to celebrate as much because they're going to be dealing with an anniversary of something like this. And it's pretty sad. Like my dad, he passed away. No, not suicide or anything like that, but he passed away December of last year. So this will be my second year celebrating Christmas without him. So I completely understand how that works, but you really never know what somebody's going through mentally or emotionally. And like you said, people that smile the most, I don't know, because I smile, but I have my moments where I don't feel like smiling, and people are like, "What's wrong? Are you okay?" And I'm just like, "I'm good. I just don't want to smile today. I just don't feel like it. I don't have it in me." And I even had to tell some people on live yesterday, like people were like, "I need you to help me with this. I need you to help me with that. Hey, can you help me?" I was like, "My cups are empty. I don't have anything to give you right now." But I still felt this tiny bit of obligation because I'm like, but what if I have the information? What if I have the answers and I can help this person? But I just didn't have my moment to just be present and not give. So I'm like, people don't get it. They may look at it as rejection or distance or emotionally unavailable, but I'm just like, can I just be here?
Especially when people look at you as their therapist. And it's like, I can't always be your therapist. I can't always try to fix it for you. And like, because they would say, oh, I have a lot of information, which I do. And I share when someone asks. I try not to just divulge it. But then it's times, like you said, people just, oh, what are you going to do with this and do that? Da, da, da. And it's like, it overwhelms you to the point that you're worried about their issues. Because
Right.
I had a girlfriend that used to always say she was going to commit suicide to the point that it drained me, and I had to cut ties with her because she would say, I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. So I have to talk her off the ledge, and I would get worried if I didn't hear a text from her. I would ride by to see if she's there. So it just consumed me so much. I said, okay, I can't focus on my kids the way I need to because I'm so worried about you going off the deep end, and I can't keep trying to be your life preserve if you keep doing this. I said, I can't do both.
And what about you, Quindra? Welcome, Quindra Lee, to the podcast. Let me
Hi,
give you your
Quindra.
welcome. But what about you? Have you had any experiences like that?
I personally haven't dealt with or had any firsthand experience with anyone that wanted to commit suicide or anything like that. But I've always been that person that everyone goes to for advice. I've always been that person that does all the giving. And I finally came to the point in my life within the last year and a half that I had to stop giving. It definitely was hard for me to do because that's just who God made me to be. I love to share my wisdom. I love to help guide and show others the way. Yet at the same time, I had to learn and understand that continuously giving to others takes away from myself. And I would always look up and wonder why I was always so drained and why I never had the energy to do the things that I wanted to pursue and the things that made me, enjoy life and wake up every day and be thankful for. So it got to the point where I just had to, begin to cut people off. So I say what I'm in currently in my life is called my isolation season. It's just me and my family. I'm married. I have 4 children. And I've had to unfortunately disconnect myself from my family because they, you know how it is when we are raised a certain way and we have to, as we begin to grow and go through experiences, it's up to us to heal that trauma. It's up to us to heal the things that we've experienced that may have turned us a certain way. So I had to go through that process. And when I went through that process, it began to come to the problem where everyone was saying I'm different and they don't like the new me. And once I realized that the reason they didn't like the new me is because I can see through your mess and I can call it like it is. And because I stand in my truth wholeheartedly, any mistakes that I've made or any wrong turns that I've made, I have no problem talking about it. I'm not ashamed of it. And because you deal with people as you grow through life and you see that they haven't got to that point yet, they're going to treat you a different way and they're going to act a different way towards you because they haven't reached that point. So that's currently where I am in life right now. Just, learning to be okay with not being able to give as much as I've always given, and understanding that I'm still the great person that I am. I just have to be mindful of the people that I give to because I need reciprocity at this point because I was getting none.
Yep, I completely understand. And sometimes when you're feeling drained and overwhelmed, you don't really know exactly where it's coming from, but it could be from that whole giving aspect and then not being filled back up, like I was saying. But if a person is not mentally stable and they feel those feelings, it could really take them to a deep, dark place because they don't realize, okay, maybe I need to cut some people off. Maybe I need to stay out of some environments. Maybe I just need to take a break. But I commend you on that of detaching from people, even including family. Sometimes they the main ones we got to detach from because they're used to us being a certain way or us creating an archetype of ourselves to be the good child or the good sister or the good auntie or the whatever, that we really don't own our own truth during that process. But since you've disconnected from family, do you feel any type of loss or grief from that and not having them around?
To be honest with you, it hasn't really bothered me as much. More so of just me not giving to others as much as I used to. As far as having to detach from them, I've always been what they call the black sheep because I've always went my own way, ever since a young child. For example, my grandmother raised me, and she bought me a car, and it got to the point where it's my car, I'm working, I'm doing what I need to do, yet you want to control me in the vehicle. So me at the age of 18, I went and gave the keys back, and I was on my 2 feet. So at that very young of an age to have that mindset, I've always kind of been outcasted to an extent because I've always standed strong on the things that I feel strong about. Even if I may have been wrong at that point in time, whatever I feel at that moment, I'm going to go with it. And if I have to come back and make some apologies or things like that, that's fine because that's a part of the growth. So it really didn't bother me having to detach, because I've always been outcasted. I've always been the one that they've talked about, to be honest. I have 3 children's fathers. I have 4 kids. So when you get to having several baby daddies and things like that, you know how that can go. Oh, well, she's this and she's that. And it used to bother me, but it doesn't bother me anymore, simply because, you know, I've been able to break a lot of conditioning, and I'm very proud of myself as far as a lot of people in my family haven't raised their children. For example, my grandmother raised me. So for me to, even if I do have these multiple children's fathers, I'm raising all of my children, and they're all respectful, they're all humble, they all have drive and ambition like their mother. And I just make sure I don't focus on that. I just focus on what I am trying to create, and I feel like that's been the downfall, of my family and maybe other families as well, because we get so caught up in how we were raised and we should involve family and this, that, and the third, but sometimes that's not how it's supposed to be. And I've learned to realize that I need to focus on the family I created. And of course, I love my family, but if we are on 2 different wavelengths, that's going to hold me back. And I'm going to be so focused on reaching back, trying to bring you with me, then I'm going to lose focus of what I need to be taking care of for me and my children. Because right now it's at the point where it's about them. So it didn't really bother me. Detaching is something that I've had to get used to. I've had to go through a lot of trials and tribulations on my own. Even being a single mom, I had to get through it. My family was there to an extent, but not so much. So because of that, I think that's why I'm so strong-minded and so resilient, because I've had to deal with a lot as I've came up with being with my children. So no, not a problem for me.
Okay. Well, baby love, I know you mentioned earlier. I'm sorry, I keep calling you baby love. I'm going
It's
right back to
okay.
TikTok.
You can choose
I'm
baby
going
love.
right
It's
back to
fine.
TikTok. You mentioned something about your sister being estranged and her not coming around. Does that make you feel sad? Do you feel any grief or loss about not having your sister around?
See, it's hard because her situation is so different. She she's going for money, and she's telling lies about the family to make herself look better. And then when we tell them the truth, she disconnects from herself. Like one time she was on the phone and she was like, "Oh, remember when Dad did this? Remember Dad?" I'm like, "Daddy really didn't do nothing." And I said, "If anybody got beat, it was me. If anybody got in trouble, it was me. Y'all didn't get in trouble. Um, so what are you talking about?" And then she hung up the phone really fast because I believe she had somebody on the third three-way. So, her story wasn't going the way that she pushed it out there. And you know how you tell one lie, you have to continue to tell another lie, to tell another lie, to tell another lie. The point now that, you know, she doesn't come around us, she doesn't speak to us. You ever see that movie Imitation of Life where the girl thought she was white? She was like, okay, so this girl in the movie could pass for white, had a black mother who was like a mammy and a nanny, a maid, and she went on passing through life. And at the bitter end, she always rejected her mother and said, "That's not my mother, that's my nanny, that's not my mother." At the end, she was screaming and crying on a casket, "Mama, mama, mama." So my father said, "That's going to be your sister," because she got with this white guy. Now all of a sudden, she's lighter than us. Oh, she don't want to deal with us for darker skinned people. See if they got money. Now he has money, so she feels like in order to keep that money, she has to do what they want, so she doesn't associate herself with us. My kids feel it because my kids said, "Whatever happened to Auntie Jasmine?" They go, "TT, what happened to TT? Why doesn't TT come? TT doesn't love us." And I'm like, I don't know how to explain. I just said, well, she just chose something different. And she's going to say a totally different thing than we say. But you know how when you grow up with a person, you know their ways and their actions and you see different things, you know what if somebody's standing in the truth and you know when somebody's faking.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how it is with her. So, I mean, I guess I do mourn her not being there to see my kids because the last time she saw my children, I think they were little, maybe like preschool, kindergarten. So they haven't seen her in a long time. And I, what can we do? I mean, every time we hear from her, I know she needs something, she wants something. What do you want? I'm like, you need a kidney or something. That's the only reason why you're coming to talk to us because she doesn't.
Okay. So a lot of basically with this, I'm saying a lot of different things. When we brought up this topic for the podcast, it was basically to let people know that yeah, it's the holiday season, but it's a lot of other stuff going on behind the scenes that people don't talk about, and they feel they have to put on these smiles and they have to attend these activities and go to people's houses, and you just never really know what's going on, what's deeper down that people are not talking about. And
No,
with
yeah.
with my siblings, since my dad passed last year, I talk to one of my sisters frequently, but then I have another sister I haven't talked to in a few months. I have a brother that didn't come to the funeral and no one has really talked to him since then. Then I have another brother that you catch him ever so often when his number changes or something and he has to let you know. So it's just me, my husband, and my kids to this at this point. And now that some of the traditions are changing, where my mother-in-law's not doing the same thing she used to do, and my mom's not doing anything. My mom is probably still grieving my grandmother, and she's been gone for years. So it's just like everybody wants to be in their own bubble. So it's about recreating our own traditions and leaving our own legacies behind, but not sitting in the stuff that everybody else has set in from generation to generation. Like, I'm an open book. I'm going to tell you what's going on with me. I'm gonna let you know, like, yeah, I'm a little in my feelings because I couldn't put no gifts under that tree this year. But then I'm gonna tell you I'm grateful that my husband was able to play Santa Claus, but I still feel like shit. So I'm like, I know that's relatable. If I feel like I want to break down and cry one day because I'm like, damn, I couldn't even get nothing, not one thing. So it's just like, no, I'm gonna open up about that because it will hurt me more to hold that in and then grieve by myself than for me to just do it and just let you know, hey, I need a hug. Or hey, can we just talk about this? Can you relate to this? And I got a lot of good positive feedback when I was venting, like with you, Jessica, like, oh, well, you're a great mom. And you and my brother actually said the same thing. You're a great mom. You give to them all year round. This is just one day out of the year. Don't look at it that way. I'm sure they really appreciate it. And I have teenagers. So my husband took care of their stuff, and they're just like, okay, boom. My son wants his room redid. My daughter's like, okay, I got a job. What you want? Let me get you something. So that makes me feel good because I'm like, okay, I don't have no little selfish kids. It's all about what they can get and, not worried about nothing else. But it still feels kind of bad. And I might have been taking it out on my husband, being a little short or distant because I didn't want him to talk me out of it because I still felt my feelings. But it sucks. And then it's all gloomy and rainy now. So I'm just like, oh, do I just want to go to sleep? But I'm not going to let myself get there. That's why I was like, let's do this podcast episode. I don't care who's on it. I don't care what it is. I need to talk about it. I'm sure somebody else needs to talk about something. Let's do it. I'm not going to go in a bubble. I'm not going to go hide away and ball up in a blanket. No. Maybe I'll get Quindra to sing me a song later or something.
Well, I just want to tell you that I have been through that experience as well. I think it's about maybe 2 Christmases ago. I wasn't able to get my children anything either. So I just want to let you know that doesn't make you any less of a mother. We all have our points. Sometimes we may feel like we should be at a better point in life, but where we are in life is where we're supposed to be. And we have to consistently remind ourselves that despite of us not being where we want to be. So I just personally want to tell you it's okay. Don't be down on yourself. You have a partner that is willing to pick up what he can pick up, and definitely love that and be thankful for that. And go tell him you sorry, okay? But it's understandable, and I just want to say I've been there too, and it's okay. That's why I feel it's so imperative that we raise our children to understand that materialistic things don't matter. It's about the bonds and it's about the relationships. So I think, sometimes even just having those conversations, sometimes we have to get real with our children, even if you never know, it may take a lift off of your shoulders, just sitting down with your kids and saying, you ain't got to go into detail, but mama hasn't done, I'm not able to do anything right now. I love you all, and I just want you to understand when I'm able, I will. And you never know, your kids may tell you something, have you in a corner bawling out crying. Sometimes releasing what we feel, even sometimes to our spouse, is good. But to have those open conversations with our children is so imperative because they're getting older too, and they're going through experiences. And if they're able to see us come to them and get vulnerable with them, when it's their time, they're going to be a little more open to doing the same with us. So I just wanted to share that with you. I think that's so, so important. But don't be down on yourself.
Well, thank you. I do appreciate that. And I think I was open with my daughter. My daughter she's at her dad's house, so she stays over there when she goes to school. And she also works close to his house too. So she was just like, how are you? I'm like, I'm a little up and down. So she's like, what's wrong? And she's my little peer mediator. So I'm like, I'm just a little sad. I didn't have the money to do anything. So she was like, it's okay. So she's like, what do you want? I'm like, okay, what's my limit? But yeah, I'm grateful for that. And my son is a little different. He's 15. So he's just like, I just started high school. I gotta, make sure my clothes is right. I gotta make sure my hair is done. I gotta make sure this. So he's still in that finding himself. So I don't mind opening up to him about it, but I don't know if he probably wouldn't know what to say. Or he may just look at me and just like give me a little hug. And that'll be saying a lot of words right there because he usually doesn't want people to touch him. So I'm like, I don't really want sympathy. I don't want nobody to feel bad for me, but it's just like, yeah, I need to feel these feelings.
Yeah. And I definitely understand that, but I think that's part of feeling the feelings, just being open with him. And when you go into the conversation and understand that it's not so much about what you receive from him, it's about what you receive from you, because you're the one that's feeling it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes we have to get past those conversations, no matter what it is that we have to have with other people. We don't go into the conversation worrying about what the response is going to be, because sometimes that can hinder us from having those conversations, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes that can change the way we go into those conversations. So if you set your mindset up to say, I'm going into this conversation just so my son can understand what I'm feeling. So if he catch me over here in the corner looking a little different, he knows what's going on with mama. That's what it's about. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I mean?
Yep, I completely
Yeah.
understand. I tell people all the time, don't have conversations in your head before they happen in real life. Just let it play
Mhm.
out. Let it pour from your heart the way it's supposed to. And I just need to take my own advice. And Quindra's.
No, but it's true because my daughter asked for a North Face jacket. It was $250. I said, if you were a little bit older and you weren't still growing rapidly, where in maybe January, February, I had to buy you another coat, maybe, just maybe I would get you one. I said, but right now, sweetie, I don't have that much money to put in a coat that may not fit you in a few months. Um, so we found another coat on, was it Zulily? It was nice. And I said, it's still name brand. It may not be the brand that you want, but it's still nice. And they got to understand that I, I ain't have no North Face in school. You know, North Face was popular when we were in school. My parents couldn't afford it. I got a mountain gear jacket. And, you know, I had to learn. You can't just have everything that you want. And I think that's my problem too. I try to give these kids, I don't know if it's too much or just try to give them everything that they want, because I didn't get everything that I wanted. And I feel like, well, if I have it, I should do it. I can sacrifice. But then it comes to a point like this, not Christmas. It's like, what am I going to do? The furnace went out. Well, the furnace got to get fixed. So there goes your Christmas money. Um, you know, what am I going to have? Am I going to be able to do this? How am I going to be able to do that? And I, try to do the best. And it's like, I hope I got enough. You know, I didn't get everything I wanted, but I hope I got enough that you just don't know how kids are going to react. Especially because mine are young. They're 12 and 13, so it's like they're at that just getting older stage where they may react. Okay, my son has autism, so he still has a mind of a toddler at times. So he might look at it like, well, I asked for X, Y, and Z. X, Y, and Z is not here. So I try to get at least one of everything that he was trying to ask for. Because he told me he wanted 100 gifts. I said, but baby, you must be going to the dollar store if you think you're getting 100 presents. Because
Wow.
I ain't got money for no 100 presents. So, it it's hard. My mom had her mom helping out, but I don't have anybody. I don't ask for help. That's my other thing. I don't ask for help. So I don't say, oh yeah, you can do this, you can do that. And my mother's on a fixed income, so I'm not going to beg and plead for people to help. If you know I'm in need and you don't feel as if you want to help, then I just take it as these are your kids, this is your responsibility. You have to play Santa Claus and go from there. But I mean, it's hard. I know my mom's dealing with a lot. Like you were talking about your mom still grieving her mother. My grandfather passed away like over 20 years ago, right before Thanksgiving. We actually had his funeral the day after Thanksgiving. Then her mother passed away 2015 on December 2nd. So we had the first Christmas without her, and we even Thanksgiving because she was in the hospital on Thanksgiving. So I said, I think that prepared us for Christmas to come, for her not to be there because she was always present. But I think my mother's still grieving that, and it's been hard for her. And because like right now she's just spending, spending, spending. And I'm like, you should save some money. I got her some help. They helped her with her rent for several months. I said, okay, take this time with the extra money that you're not putting out, save. But she's going shopping. I said, no, you can't do that. I said, you don't know why God gave you this blessing. So take this money now while you're on a fixed income and hold it. But she's not. And I remember my dad was saying, because he's a preacher, he said some people go out there and they spend, spend, spend because they want to make it look like They have all this family. Like I said, my sister's estranged, so she wants to make it look like, oh, she has to buy gifts for this person and that person and this and that, so she can come in with all the gifts and look what I did. And I don't know if it's she's hiding something or what's going on, and she's not going to say. She's not going to express anything really that's going on with her. She has to play a guessing game, and that's hard because you're trying to get her. I said, why don't you go get help? Go speak to someone. Well, I don't need to speak to nobody. I'm like, no, sometimes you do. I said, if it's hard for you to talk about certain subjects, that means you're still hurting from that trauma, and you need to speak to someone so they can help you. It's not saying that something's wrong with you, not saying that you're mentally ill, but it's everyone once in a while needs to speak to somebody and speak to someone professionally that can help you, because sometimes your girlfriend can give you the wrong advice. Some people try to hurt you intentionally. So speak to someone that knows nothing of the subject, knows nothing about you and your habits, and just let them know what's going on to see if they can help you. But that goes ties back into with the suicide. Some of them won't talk about it. They won't say nothing. They just go on hurting and hurting and hurting, and then one day they just off themselves and then say, "Well, if you would have spoken to me, we could have talked through this." The Black community is just now coming around to seeking help, but they need to. I think a lot of minorities don't want to go seek help. They don't want to go to the therapist, and it's hard. And I mean, like even speaking about Twitch, because he was married to a white woman. I don't know if he felt maybe she couldn't understand what was going on. I don't. This it was past struggles, and also like, do you know everything about? We don't tell everything to our spouses, so they may not know every little deep secret, every little deep hurt that happened. So then stuff that's bothering you that we're not talking about, that they don't understand, and then you write this letter and like, wow, she only even said that. We could have did X, Y, and Z. So it hurts the family more because you're like, why?
Yeah.
Why?
But I can relate a little bit, and that's probably why I'm an open book now, because I had a episode or situation when I was 19. I took a bunch of pills, and it wasn't to take my own life. That wasn't my end goal, but I just didn't want to feel anything anymore. And I didn't have anybody I felt I could really talk to who could understand what I was going through. And I didn't really know what I was going through because I had moved out right after graduating from high school, wanting to be grown, want my own space. My mom and I bumping heads. I just wanted to do my own thing. But I was living with this guy I was dating, and it was just a lot of back and forth, like him choosing his friends over me feeling alone, even though we lived together. And it was like this girl, she dated his friend, but she was causing a lot of conflict in our relationship. And I just was like, I don't really feel comfortable with her coming over. And he chose her. Like, no, that's my friend. She's going to do this. She's going to do that. So I just felt alone. I was having headaches all the time. I was even in the hospital during 9/11. I was in the emergency room because I was having headaches, migraines so bad that they would put me in this room and just turn all the lights off, tell me to take something and just see if it would go away, to see where it was coming from. They couldn't find anything. So I didn't know much about stress or anything. I'm 19. So I don't know about all of these things. And my family, the type that they don't talk about nothing. There's a lot of tough love. And so I felt nobody could relate. So I just kept it all in. I had all of this medicine that the doctors had been giving me. And I was like, and just took them. I remember being slightly lucid or slightly aware when the ambulance came to take me away. And I remember being in the hospital. Not one of my family members came to visit me. My sorry. My boyfriend at the time, his baby mother came to visit me and his sister. while he was driving my car around, no license, everything. He didn't even come up there. And so I was like, okay, this is different. They kept me in the hospital for a while for evaluation and everything. I didn't want to leave. I was finally around other people who were either like me or a little worse off than me that could relate to what I was feeling or experiencing. And I felt like they were my community at that time. Like, okay, like they get me. And we were doing different activities. And I was like, can I stay? It's like, no, you can't stay. This is outpatient thing. You have to leave. And I was like, but what do I do when I get out there? And I still didn't really know what to do. They didn't really equip me with the tools to know how to manage my mental health and everything once I left. I still had to go back to the same thing I was dealing with before. And as I got older, I realized I suppressed the fact that nobody came to visit me. Y'all knew what was going on and where was my help. And later I found out my mom, I'm like, did you tell anybody I was in the hospital? She didn't tell people because she didn't want them to question her, or I don't know what it was, but she didn't want that backlash on her. And I was like, but it wasn't about you at that time. It was about me. I needed support. I needed my family, but you chose to keep this information to yourself. So it's a lot of stuff that people might know, but they don't want to share it or they don't want to say anything because of how it may look on them. So I don't know about Twitch's family or what's going on with their situation, but mine was a cry out for help that I didn't get. So as I got older, I had to go through these experiences in my life. I was robbed at gunpoint and tied up in my own apartment. I did a lot of stuff. I sold drugs. I did all types of stuff. I didn't have any guidance. And I was going to do whatever I needed to do to survive and figure it out on my own because I was determined to break the cycles. I was not going to become an alcoholic. I was not going to become a drug addict. I was not going to be out here on the stripper pole. No offense to strippers, but I knew what I didn't want and I had to figure it out. Some people don't have that capacity to do that. So those strong ones and the ones that smiling all the time, it's not about what they're saying, but what they're not saying. So like, keep checking in on your friends. Keep asking people how they're doing. You don't have to go above and beyond to do something that becomes an obligation. But a hug doesn't hurt. A text message doesn't hurt. Just sending an emoji with a smiley face, whatever you feel you need to do. But you just never know what somebody's going through. So yeah, and like I said, I did not want to take my life. It was a cry out for help. I wanted some type of attention or to just feel like I wasn't alone. And I didn't really get the result that I thought I would get, but I got to understand that my life was more important than not being here and going numb and not wanting to feel anything. So I guess that's why I became a healer, to help other people go through those times. And Quindra's her healer, her own healer with her voice, and baby love Jessica Rabbit. She's doing her thing. She's on different platforms helping people, and she's teaching and helping kids with disabilities. So it's like we out here doing our thing, and no matter what we've been through. So just for people out there that's feeling like there's no hope and that their life isn't important, you just never know what your purpose is and why you're going through what you're going through and who you can help just by telling your story. Because not a lot of people know that about me. And like I said, I'm an open book. I'll tell you. Because it doesn't make or break me because I'm still standing. So
No, that's true. No, that's true. I mean, I know one time I walked out in traffic. My husband said it was different. He saw it differently. He said it wasn't that much of traffic, but I just know I was trying to get hit by a car. So I could stop. We had an argument. We were going through some stuff. I just want everything to stop. I felt like I couldn't deal with stuff anymore. So if I get hit by this car takes me out, then everything will be done over with. But I wasn't thinking about my kids at the time. And then when I snapped out of it, my mother had yelled at me, "What are you doing? You have kids. If they lose you, that's going to be worse than what you're going through now. This is only temporary. That will be permanent." So I had to just say, fine, let me deal with all the actions to all the consequences and go from there. And hopefully it'll get better in time. But when I was younger, I never did that. I know I kept a lot of stuff in. I wouldn't, even now, my husband go, "You're going back down. You're going, here's go. You go." I go into this deep, um, dark space where I can't move and I can't really function. And I do as much as I can for my kids, but besides that, I just sit and either lay in bed, especially when the pandemic happened and lockdown happened. At first, it was fine, and then months later, I wouldn't come out the room, and I just sat in the room. I would put on makeup to go to my virtual visits with my doctors, and just lay there in a dark, dark room. And he's like, "You're depressed." I said, "I'm not depressed. I'm not depressed." He said, "No, you are. You're not coming out. You're not. All you want to do is eat tasty cakes and sit in the room and watch TV and cry." I didn't understand what was going on. I didn't know how I was feeling. I mean, I guess I was worried about getting sick because I was always a sickly person. So I was afraid of getting sick. I guess I was afraid of dying. I didn't want to go to the stores. Um, I just went into that little room, to that cocoon, and just stayed. And then finally, I had to get out. I had to push myself to get out. But sometimes he said he sees me, and he tries to pull me out before I go too deep in and say, "Hey, you're doing it again. You got to start doing something." But I don't know where it comes from. I don't know how it starts or how I get it to stop, but I get quiet. So that's why I told Ari, like, if you don't hear from me, please text, because most likely that means I'm starting to sink, and I'm just not gonna say anything. People just like, "Oh, I haven't seen, haven't heard from you in a while." Yeah, because I go in and I don't speak to anybody. I don't talk to anyone. Oh.
Well, girl, send me your address, because if texting ain't gonna work, I'm gonna pull up on you. I'm gonna send you a tasty cake gift basket or something. You're gonna be like, "Is that Rika outside? Oh my God." I'm gonna pull up. But before we wrap up this episode, Quindra, you just dropped your song, right? Recently?
Last Friday, I dropped my song Reminiscing, which is about my healing journey, and how I currently have the mindset that I have now. So that was last Friday. And then tomorrow, my fun song is called On Your Mama.
Oh, yo,
It drops
mama.
tomorrow.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
I'm having a live release party tonight on TikTok at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. So if you're available, come on through. And I'm going to let everyone hear it before it drops tomorrow. And everyone that comes through, I will enter them into a raffle, and I'll whoever wins is going to get some official merch. So I design merch as well, and I have my own website. So they'll win a hoodie or a sweatshirt off my website.
Okay. Yeah. I
Okay.
think I saw one of your sweatshirts too, that you had on a live video. But
Mm-hmm.
your song reminiscing, right?
Mm-hmm.
It really resonated with me. And when I saw you making the song, so the fact that I could see behind the scenes you putting all the pieces together to the song, and then hearing the final thing, like I felt like I was VIP or something. But it's so relatable, and it's talking about picking up the pieces that you lost. And like, I don't want to give all the words away and talk about the whole song, because people can go listen to it for themselves. But I think that that's a really, it's like a anthem,
Mm-hmm.
because it's so relatable, and people can see like that divine's tapping into that divine feminine and coming out on top, and not allowing all of these things that we're going through to make us. And we can go to those dark places, but just pull yourself back up and remember who the fuck you are, because we have so many big purposes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not about filling the shoes of other people that came before us, but walking in our own shoes and walking in our own purpose. and paving the way for whoever else comes behind us, not to do exactly what we do or do it in the way we would do it, but creating your own path and making your own way, because you've been through certain things and now you're tapping into your passions and your purpose, and that's singing and sharing the word through music. And whether it's on this type of platform or on TikTok or on your YouTube page, you're doing the damn thing. And I want to commend you for that. I'm grateful. And everybody, I'll share the information for Quindra and how you can connect with her in the description box, so you can check out her picking up the pieces, the reminiscent song and the fun song, On Your Mama, On Your Hood.
Well, I definitely thank you. Since I met you, you've been very supportive. I love to meet like-minded people. I love to meet people that have been on their healing journey. Well, I'd rather say that are on their healing journey, because if you're real, the healing journey is consistent. It's not never ending, right? So I'm loving the fact that I'm coming across people that are on their healing journey, because I can relate to them more. They can relate to me more. And just, real quick, I've done music since the age of 12. And I mentioned to you all earlier that I've always been the outcast. So healing and music has always been my therapy. And that's how I've always expressed myself. And I think that's why it's so easy for me to talk about the things I've been through, especially as me being a woman. I've talked about the domestic violence I've experienced and all of those things in all of my songs. And I'm not ashamed of nothing, okay? Because I know God put me through those things for a reason, so I can stand here and talk about it and they can see how I turned out in the end. But I definitely appreciate your support. I thank you for allowing me to come on here. I know I was late. I'm going to be on time next time. But thank you for the invite. I definitely love the conversation. I think it's definitely needed. And I love that we can come together as women and have those transparent conversations. It can help get perspectives from each other and help each other grow along the path. So definitely thank you. And it was nice to meet you, Miss Jessica. I hope everything's
nice
good for you, boo.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're
welcome. Nice meeting you as well.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Quindra, for joining us. We're just going to wrap it up and, say until next time, we will see you guys later. The next time I have another podcast episode that drops, it may be closer to the new year, if not after the new year. So I look forward to talking with you guys soon. Bye-bye. Thank you guys so much for listening to today's podcast. If you or someone you know is thinking of harming themselves, please contact your local or the national Suicide and Crisis Lifeline or Hotline. The number is 800-273-8255.